Hello everyone and welcome back to another exciting video. Today, our beautiful mechanic is taking on a brand new challenge. Instead of restoring an old abandoned vehicle as she usually does, she has been called to repair an excavator that has broken down at a construction site. This is an important job because excavators work under extremely demanding conditions, and even a small mechanical problem can bring an entire project to a halt. As soon as she received the call, she gathered all the tools she would need and headed straight to the job site. When she arrived, the owner of the excavator was already waiting for her. Before starting the repair, they spent a few minutes discussing the problems the machine had been experiencing. The owner explained that the excavator was still able to operate, but its hydraulic system had developed a serious oil leak. If the problem wasn't fixed quickly, the machine would continue losing hydraulic fluid, reducing its operating pressure and making it less efficient. Over time, the leak could also damage other components and create safety and environmental concerns. After listening carefully to the owner's description, the mechanic opened her toolbox and began a thorough inspection. Rather than rushing into the repair, she carefully examined every part of the hydraulic system to locate the exact source of the leak. This is one of the most important steps in any repair because identifying the real cause of the problem saves both time and money while preventing unnecessary repairs. It didn't take long for her to discover the issue. One of the hydraulic oil hoses had cracked and was leaking fluid. Years of operating under high pressure had caused the rubber hose to wear out and lose its strength. Whenever the hydraulic system was activated, oil escaped through the damaged section instead of remaining inside the sealed system. Replacing a hydraulic hose may sound like a simple task, but in reality it requires experience and technical knowledge. Hydraulic systems operate under extremely high pressure, and installing the wrong hose or tightening the fittings incorrectly can lead to even more serious problems. Dirt or debris entering the system during the repair can also damage expensive hydraulic components. That's why this job should only be performed by someone with the proper knowledge, skills, and professional tools. The mechanic carefully removed the damaged hose from the excavator. Every step was performed with precision to avoid damaging the surrounding fittings and hydraulic connections. Once the old hose was removed, she thoroughly cleaned the mounting area to ensure no pieces of rubber or dirt remained inside the system. Although this may seem like a small detail, it plays a major role in ensuring the long-term reliability of the repair. Next, she selected a brand new hydraulic hose with the correct size and specifications. Before installing it, she carefully inspected the fittings, seals, and threaded connections to make sure everything was in perfect condition. She then installed the new hose in its proper position and tightened every connection according to the required specifications. Throughout the repair, the owner stood nearby watching with confidence. It was obvious that he trusted her experience because every movement was smooth, organized, and professional. There was no hesitation or unnecessary effort, just the calm and efficient work of an experienced mechanic who knew exactly what she was doing. This is also the reason the owner chose to call her instead of attempting the repair himself. When it comes to critical hydraulic systems on heavy equipment, hiring an experienced mechanic is always the safest and most cost-effective decision. A single mistake can result in expensive repairs or leave the excavator out of service for days. With the new hydraulic hose successfully installed, she will now continue inspecting the entire hydraulic system to make sure there are no additional leaks before putting the excavator back into operation. Will this simple repair solve the problem completely, or is there another hidden issue waiting to be discovered? Stay with us until the end of the video to find out whether our talented mechanic can successfully complete another challenging repair. After successfully replacing the damaged hydraulic hose, it seemed like the mechanic's job was finally finished. However, the owner of the excavator had one more favor to ask. Besides repairing the machine, he hoped she could also help clean it before it returned to work at the construction site. At first glance, it was easy to see that this excavator had been working in extremely harsh conditions for a long time. Almost every part of the machine was covered in thick layers of dirt and dried mud, but the tracks were by far the worst. Heavy mud had packed itself tightly between the track links, rollers, and guide wheels, filling nearly every gap. To many people, this might simply look like a dirty machine, but in reality, excessive mud buildup can seriously affect the performance of a tracked vehicle. As dirt and rocks become tightly compacted inside the track system, they create additional resistance every time the tracks rotate. Over time, this extra strain can increase wear on moving components, reduce operating efficiency, and shorten the lifespan of important parts. That's why regularly cleaning the undercarriage isn't just about making the machine look better. It also helps keep it operating efficiently and reduces the risk of unnecessary mechanical problems. After inspecting the tracks more closely, the mechanic immediately realized that this would not be an easy cleaning job. The mud had dried so hard that it was almost like concrete. Simply spraying water over the tracks wouldn't remove it because most of the dirt had become tightly wedged into narrow spaces. Before washing the machine, the hardened mud would first need to be removed by hand. Without wasting any time, she picked up a crowbar from her toolbox. It was the perfect tool for the job because its narrow tip could reach deep into the tight spaces between the steel track links. She carefully inserted the crowbar into the packed mud and slowly began prying the hardened dirt loose. From the very first few attempts, it became obvious just how demanding this task really was. Every chunk of dried mud was firmly packed into place after countless hours of operation. In many areas, she had to apply considerable force before the mud finally broke free. One large piece after another fell onto the ground, began gradually revealing the metal surfaces that had been hidden beneath thick layers of dirt for a long time. Little by little, the original shape of the excavator's track system began to reappear. What impressed me the most was her attitude throughout the entire process. She never complained about the dirty work or tried to rush through it. Instead, she remained focused and patiently worked on one section at a time. Although cleaning isn't the most technically difficult part of repairing heavy equipment, it requires a great deal of physical effort, patience, and determination. Spending hours removing hardened mud from an excavator is certainly not something every mechanic is willing to do. In my opinion, this is what makes her stand out from many other mechanics. Her primary responsibility was to repair the machine, but when the owner asked for help cleaning it, she didn't hesitate for a moment. She understood that a clean machine is much easier to inspect, making it easier to identify future problems while helping the equipment perform more reliably over time. That professional mindset is what motivated her to take on a job that wasn't even part of the original repair. In reality, many mechanics would simply complete the repair, hand the machine back to the customer, and leave the cleaning to someone else. Washing heavy equipment is often considered a separate maintenance task, but she chose to stay and continue working. That decision showed that she genuinely cared about delivering the machine in the best possible condition, not just getting it running again. After working patiently for quite some time, the largest chunks of hardened mud were finally removed from the track system. Although other parts of the excavator were still dirty, the most heavily contaminated area had been cleaned significantly. The steel track links were now clearly visible again, and the spaces that had once been completely packed with mud were finally open. Even this single improvement made a remarkable difference compared to the condition of the machine when she first arrived. Of course, this was only one step in the cleaning process. There were still many other areas of the excavator that needed attention before it would be ready to return to work. Will she continue cleaning the rest of the machine? And how different will the excavator look once every part has been restored to a much cleaner condition? Stay with us until the end of the video to see the final result. Using a crowbar to remove the packed mud was only the first step. Even after prying out a large amount of hardened dirt from the excavator's tracks, the job was far from finished. While the biggest chunks of mud were gone, a thin layer of dirt and fine debris still clung to the metal surfaces. If she stopped at this point, the excavator would still be far from clean, and the remaining dirt would continue to collect more debris during future operation. That's why the mechanic decided to move on to the next stage by cleaning the entire track system with a high-pressure water washer. This is one of the most effective ways to remove thin layers of dirt that hand tools simply can't reach. The powerful stream of water can penetrate deep into the narrow gaps between the steel track links, washing away mud, sand, and other debris without requiring any parts to be disassembled. Once everything was ready, she aimed the pressure washer at the tracks and began cleaning. The powerful spray quickly blasted away the remaining dirt that had been clinging to the steel surfaces. Within just a few minutes, the original color of the track links started to become visible again. Areas that had been completely covered in dried mud now looked much cleaner and were far easier to inspect. She didn't stop with the tracks. The excavator bucket also needed plenty of attention because it spends every working day digging through soil, rocks, and clay. Thick layers of dried mud had built up around the edges and inside the corners of the bucket. Using the high-pressure washer, she carefully rinsed away the dirt little by little until the metal surface became clearly visible again. A clean bucket not only looks better, but also makes it much easier to inspect for cracks, excessive wear, or other damage that could develop over time. Looking more closely, it appears that the pressure washer she's using is a relatively compact model. Its water pressure is more than sufficient for everyday cleaning tasks, but it's probably not as powerful as the larger industrial units commonly found in professional repair shops. Because of that, cleaning the entire undercarriage takes more time and requires considerably more patience. Whenever she reached areas where the mud was especially thick, she had to hold the spray nozzle in one position for several seconds, allowing the high-pressure water to gradually soften and remove the hardened dirt. In some places, she even changed the spraying angle multiple times to reach the narrow spaces hidden deep inside the track assembly. It certainly slowed the cleaning process, but it also ensured that every section was cleaned as thoroughly as possible. Although this pressure washer isn't the most powerful model available, it offers several important advantages that make it ideal for her type of work. Its compact size makes it easy to transport alongside the rest of her tools and equipment. Whether she's traveling to a construction site, a farm, or another remote location, carrying a smaller machine is much more convenient than hauling around a large industrial unit. For a mobile mechanic like her, portability is one of the most valuable features any piece of equipment can have. Every day she may travel to different job sites to repair heavy machinery in the field. If she had to transport a large heavy pressure washer everywhere she went, it would take up valuable space and make every trip more difficult. That's why choosing a compact machine that still delivers reliable performance is a very practical decision. In many situations, convenience is more important than having the highest possible power. Even if a smaller pressure washer requires a little more time to finish the job, it can still produce excellent results when used with patience and proper technique. Judging by what we've seen so far, she clearly understands that. Rather than rushing through the work, she focuses on doing each step carefully and making sure every part is cleaned properly. The steady stream of water continues washing away the last traces of mud from both the tracks and the excavator bucket. Little by little, the machine begins to regain a much cleaner and more professional appearance. Although this is simply a cleaning process, it plays an important role in routine maintenance and makes future inspections much easier by exposing areas that would otherwise remain hidden beneath layers of dirt. Now that the cleaning is nearly complete, will she discover any additional problems before returning the excavator to its owner? Stay with us until the end of the video to see how this repair and cleaning project turns out. After completing the cleaning process, the mechanic still had one final and extremely important task before the excavator could be returned to its owner. She needed to refill the hydraulic system with fresh hydraulic oil. This step was essential because the damaged hydraulic hose had allowed a significant amount of oil to leak out while the machine was in operation. Simply replacing the damaged hose would not be enough. Without restoring the proper hydraulic oil level, the system would not be able to generate the pressure required for normal operation. As a result, the boom, arm, and bucket could respond slowly or lose lifting power. In more serious cases, running the excavator with insufficient hydraulic oil could even damage the hydraulic pump, leading to much more expensive repairs. That's why refilling the system with the correct type and amount of hydraulic oil is one of the most critical steps in the entire repair process. Before adding the new oil, she carefully inspected every hydraulic connection one last time to make sure there were no remaining leaks. Once she was confident that everything was properly sealed, she slowly poured fresh hydraulic oil into the reservoir, ensuring the system was filled to the correct level. Every step was performed carefully, because even small details can make a big difference in the long-term reliability of heavy equipment. With the hydraulic system refilled and the repair completed, the excavator was finally ready to return to work. The mechanical problem had been successfully resolved, and the machine was now in much better condition than when she first arrived. In my opinion, she did an outstanding job from start to finish. From diagnosing the problem and replacing the damaged hydraulic hose to cleaning the tracks and bucket before refilling the hydraulic system, every step was carried out with professionalism, patience, and attention to detail. Her work clearly demonstrated not only solid mechanical knowledge, but also a strong sense of responsibility and pride in what she does. What do you think? After watching the entire repair process, how would you rate this talented mechanic's skills and workmanship? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your opinion.